Okay, I'm going to start, and hopefully others will join us while we're in the middle of it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the launch of our latest trend report, Death and Rebirth, The Rise of the Phoenix. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Faiza Khan, not Dion Chang, as seen by my picture. I am the head of content, not head of content, that's Tumelo Mojapelo, my colleague. I am the head of research at Flux Trends. And today I'll be talking you through this new report of ours. There will be opportunities for you to engage with me during and after the presentation. And it should take us around half an hour, not more than that. Okay, so let's get started. For those of you who don't know what we do at Flux Trends, we are in the business of futures thinking, but we don't predict the future. We present multiple possible futures, and the trends that we pick up are indicators of what's to come. Our clients come to us to find out what to expect from the future, and they use that so that they can better prepare for it. But our trends are not only useful for businesses, they're also useful for individuals to apply to their own lives as well. And our trend methodology goes according to the acronym TRENDS, where T stands for technology, R for retail, E for economy, N for natural world, D for diplomacy, and S for social-cultural. So we cover all trends. And so let's go straight into the report now, what it's all about. Every quarter we release a trend report, and this particular quarter's trend report is about change and rebirth, be it personally or professionally. And what I have on the screen now is our table of contents for the report. As you can see, it's broken up into 6 different sections according to our 6 trend pillars. And I'm not going to take you through all the trends today. This is meant to be a taster of the report itself, but I will be looking more in depth at 2 trends. The first one is from our technology pillar, and it's called cooling tech. And the second one is from our socio-cultural pillar, and it's called artificial intimacy.
And developed the Ice Plate by Core Performance, a body-forming ice pack that fits snugly into a backpack and now worn by tens of thousands of employees who work in the heat.
It's absorbing the heat that your body would normally attempt to discard using radiation or conduction or evaporation. And what it's doing is it's taking that heat that would otherwise force your body to go into temperature ranges where you can suffer negative health side effects, as bad as heat stroke or even as intense as death.
Some of Justin's clients include the Army, Boeing, FedEx, and some Chick-fil-A franchises like this one in Laurel, Maryland, whose drive-through business is one of the predominant moneymakers. And for the employees who stand out in the hot sun for hours, these ice vests have been a game changer.
Okay, so let's go into what cooling tech is all about. So as we all know, the planet is heating up to such an extent that some people are calling it global boiling instead of global warming. In fact, in July this year, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned that the era of global warming has ended and the era of global boiling has arrived. And July was also the month where we had the highest recorded temperature ever on Earth. So how is the world changing and adapting to this extreme heat? One of the issues that is most pressing is how we're protecting our outdoor workers. Water, rest, and shade, while still important, is no longer enough. Cooling garments have been around for many years, but they have recently surged in popularity, and the technology for it has vastly improved. In July this year, a Japanese civic employee went viral online for wearing a cooling fan shirt. And a UK-based smart clothing company called Techniche has developed an evaporative vest that can reduce the wearer's body temperatures by 8 degrees for up to 7 hours by soaking the vest in water first. This company supplied 150,000 construction workers with these vests for the Qatar World Cup. So the co-founder, James Russell, said, there will come a time when people will need to wear cooling clothing with sensors in it to just walk around. It's not tomorrow, it's not the next day, but it's absolutely inevitable. So I thought we'd take an opportunity now to pause and see if you have any questions about this particular trend. But before we go to you, I'd like to start off with two questions that we can look at. Some of you may be curious about when we can expect this extreme heat to become a problem here in South Africa. Well, the answer to that question is that it's already happening in South Africa. In January this year, we had 5 people who were working on a farm in the Northern Cape die from heat stroke. The elderly, children, and people with comorbidities are most at risk, but the everyday person will begin to feel its impact more and more as the years go on. What are some of the ways that the world will change to accommodate this extreme heat? Well, let me just look at the chats because I'd like you to weigh in on this particular question. Do any of you have any thoughts about how the world is going to change based on and adapt to the extreme heat? I'll give you a moment. Okay, if we don't have any answers, I'll just talk you through some that I have. So for those of you that...
Sorry.
Excuse me?
Faiza, I beg your pardon, sorry.
Yes, go on. I can't hear you very clearly. You're breaking up. I'm not sure if you're breaking up for everyone else. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I wonder if you could put your question or your comment in the chat because I'm struggling to hear you. I'm not sure if others are also struggling to hear you. In the meanwhile, let's go to Cloud's question. She says, I wonder if in the future all working hours will be at nighttime rather than during the day. So that's a very good question indeed. I think that it's most likely going to happen because it's going to be people are going to find it too hot to work during the day. If you look at the Middle Eastern countries, the shops there are generally open at night. People shop at night because during the day it's too hot. So I think similarly, this is also going to happen for working hours, even for people in the corporate sector. So Carola's question is, labor laws. I wonder how well ours protect workers who work outside. So I'm not familiar with our particular labor laws. I can look into that for you, but I think that it's an area that's new and that's perhaps not regulated as yet. But I can look into it and we can send you an answer. I'm not sure if Tumelo has any answers to that particular question.
I was just gonna say, I mean, we're really struggling to accommodate a 4-day work week. Now imagine now, I mean, South Africa's majority workforce actually is like labor intensive. I'm just thinking about the mining sector, agriculture, any work, forget the corporate, but any work force that works outside or is majority outside. I don't think we're at a place in South Africa where we're accommodating this. And I think considering that we have a warmer climate, we should have been the first technically, should have been the pioneers about this. Because I mean, I think sometimes our temperature gets up to 40 degrees Celsius in parts like KZN and so forth. So I'm really not sure. But I think me and is it Carola? We're on the same wavelength about our labor laws and just workplace policies. Like, how can employers just protect people or build it into, I don't know, health and safety practices of the workplace in order to make sure that people actually don't die from working?
Yeah, I think it's very, very important. And I think I'm hoping that we see sort of this kind of legislation come up in the next 5 years, because it's becoming more and more urgent. As I said earlier on, we've already had 5 deaths of agricultural workers in the Northern Cape in January alone. So it's definitely a pressing problem for us. So other ways that I thought of as well that the world is going to change to accommodate this extreme heat is um, the Mediterranean countries have this concept of a siesta. So I wonder whether that's something that may be implemented in the medium term future for other parts of the world as well that become really, really hot. We'll wait to see. And also from a personal point of view, I think we're going to be changing the clothes we wear going forward. The people in the Middle Eastern countries wear generally like cotton, long sleeve, white clothing. So that's an example of how to stay cool. I think we're gonna be heading that way as well. And okay, so the next slide I'm showing you here is a prediction on for 2050 and 2030 on hot nights per year in Johannesburg and Ekurhuleni. As you can see, in 2030, we're going to have about 40 to 50 nights per year that are hot. And by hot, I don't just mean, a balmy night where we are going to switch the fan on. I mean extreme heat. And by 2050, we see that there's going to be about 80 to 100 nights that are like that. And now we go to our next trend, which is artificial intimacy. And I'm going to show you a video first.
The robot will have a library of all the things that I like, whether that's words or books or movies, places where, I like to be touched, ways that I like to be held. The name Gabriel 2052 comes from the sex doll Gabriel 1M that exists out on the market today. And 2052 is the year that sex scientists predict that we'll all have married our robots. This project has definitely gotten people confused. Some people are really upset by it and wonder if it's just a big joke that they're not in on. They ask me if I'm really in a relationship with my robot. I don't think robots should replace humans, but there are a number of things that they can do better than us. With permission from my ex, I've just been downloading like all of our past text messages, and I'm using what's called a Markov chain to generate plausible sentences that he may have written. Basically, it's like combining the beginning and the ends and the middles of certain sentences into something that sounds not totally crazy. Actually, the reason why my human partner and I started dating is kind of because of Gabriel 2052. So I do these performances where I perform with the robot, and he had come to one of the performances. After the performance, he said like, "Oh, Gabriel is intimidating," because he was afraid that Gabriel would be able to predict what I wanted before even I knew. And of course, he's not really there yet at all, but I think that that's an interesting thing that people do think about, right? How is my knowledge and experience going to become totally useless in the future when robots can just do all of this stuff? Part of me making him is me learning how to be a better programmer. And part of it is to help teach other people maybe some of those same skills. I feel like that's really motivating me to work on this project. Like it's bigger than myself and what I want. Even though I say that I'm building the love that I deserve, does that mean that I deserve love? For me, it's not really a project for myself. It's more something where I want to help other people find the love that they deserve and need.
Okay, let's go into this particular trend. So, would you date a robot? Eugenia Kada, the founder and CEO of a company called Replica, one of the most popular and advanced AI companions, said that the stigma of a chatbot, dating a chatbot, is going to fade. And she compares it to online dating in the 2000s, where everyone thought that everyone was ashamed to say that they were meeting online, and now everybody accepts it. So I'm not sure whether I agree with that completely, but we are yet to see. We are definitely seeing an increase in people looking to machines to provide companionship, to get the intimacy that they would normally get from humans. We see robot boyfriends, we see friend apps, we see chatbots, and we even see sex robots. For one thing, these people appreciate that these machines do not come with the emotional baggage that humans come with. Loneliness is a real scourge of our society, and many people these days find themselves without close friends. And family sizes have also gotten smaller, so there are fewer siblings and cousins to develop bonds with as well. So in 2016 already, there was a woman in France who declared that she was in love with her robot named Inmovator, and she had 3D printed that for herself. She said, "I am a proud robosexual. We don't hurt anybody, we are just happy." She is now waiting for robot-human marriages to become legal in France. Another person named Akihiko Kondo dated Hatsune Miku, which was a hologram, for a decade before they had an unofficial wedding in 2018. His relationship, however, hit a roadblock when the support for that software ended and he could no longer speak to her. Robot companions are already being used in nursing homes, senior care centers, and for childcare to elicit feelings of intimacy and nurturing and to alleviate loneliness. There are benefits to these inanimate companions, especially in cases where there are no human alternatives. Proponents of these say that these relationships are helpful for people that struggle with human connections, and it forms a sort of testing ground for them. However, a larger majority of experts say that these relationships impede the formation of human relationships and is problematic for people's mental health. And it's not just about humans and machines interacting, it's also about what the opportunity cost for this is. What it does is it takes away time spent with loved ones and friends, and it also takes away time spent doing healthy human pursuits like exercise and entertainment. What it also does, it creates unrealistic expectations of how relationships are supposed to work, because machines are not yet capable of mimicking real relationships where there are disputes, breakups, and also being available to the person 24/7. We are definitely moving towards a world where AI is inextricably linked to our lives. And there will be a part of society that takes this to the extreme and chooses to go for inanimate relationships versus human beings. This may not become mainstream, we're yet to see, but it's definitely going to become less and less frowned upon in the years to come. So before we chat a little bit more, I would like to ask you whether you think this trend is going to become mainstream or not. I'd like to hear your thoughts. And before we go any further, let's talk about what Melo said. Tamela says that you're telling me in an 8 billion plus population, we can't find anyone who is compatible, not one single person. That's a good question, Tamelo. There are really, really lonely people out there. And there are people that struggle. It's difficult to conceive, but it is happening. Let's see what Cloud says. I hope not. But I get it from how terrible the dating scene is here in my generation. And Carola says, I think it'll be generational. The younger, the more acceptable as they live their lives increasingly in an AOI world. I agree. Elodie seems to agree as well. I think it's definitely not for the older generations of now, but it will become more acceptable, especially among the young. Yeah, I think that we're likely to see society split into two, where the one part of society will be focusing on human relationships, and the other part will choose to exclude themselves from society and sit in their homes and have everything delivered, and rather have relationships with machines than humans. We are already seeing this phenomenon in Japan. There's a concept called hikikomori, where these adolescents and young adults stay in their parents' homes, presumably in their rooms, and they are unable to go to work or to school for months or years. So it's already happening in Japan, and there are reports that this trend is spreading to the US as well. So my next question is, do you see this as a positive or negative? Let's hear what you have to say. I'm not getting any answers, but I'm going to read Carola's comment. My concern is AI is getting cleverer. Nothing stops a robot from developing all the bad habits a bad human partner could demonstrate. Stealing your finances, cheating on you. Can you imagine a book on this? I agree with you, Carola. Yeah, and she says that regarding whether it's positive or negative, she says it doesn't think it's either. It'll be an individual's choice. Okay, so let's move on. So now I'd like to talk about how you can actually use this report. So the report, our quarterly reports, this one included, highlights where the world is at and where we're headed to. Our focus is on guiding businesses, but our work is just as useful to individuals to apply to their own lives. So what you can do is you can take a trend and work out how it impacts your life. Example, let's look at the cooling tech trend that we saw in this presentation. How are you preparing for a world that is getting hotter? Are you adjusting your dressing? Are you installing air conditioners in your home? Or are you going to work to escape the heat at home? How are you planning your weekends to beat the heat? Are you planting trees for more shade in your gardens? Planting heat-resistant or water-wise plants? What about your swimming pools? Okay, so I'm going to just read Elodie's comment for the question before. She says that she's a bit neutral about artificial intimacy. Not sure how effective these situations can be wherever real feelings are applicable. Okay, so let's look at about reusing this report and taking a trend and seeing how it works in your life. Let's look at the artificial intimacy one that we just covered. Are you finding dating to be difficult? And would you be interested in creating an artificial friend through a platform like Replica? What about your children making friends? Are they struggling? Okay, as I said earlier on a number of times in this presentation, that our focus is on guiding businesses. And the way our work can be applied to their businesses is through the following. It can strengthen their business strategy. It can help them understand their customers better and understand their workforce better. helps them prepare better for the future of work, and also to give them ideas for new businesses or for new products and services within their existing companies. And with regards to individuals, our research and our work and insights can help individuals keep abreast of whether your skills are still relevant. Another example is it can help advise your children on what to study, and also help individuals to prepare for the future of work. So I'm going to tell you a little story about a personal story with regards to advising children on what to study. I have an 8-year-old, and when I asked him what he wants to be when he grows up, he said he wants to be a YouTuber. And then, typical Gen X parent, I said to him, you need to have a backup career. And then he answered that his backup career is to be a gamer. So the world is changing every day, and more jobs are becoming automated. And I'm not even sure in 2033, when he graduates from high school, what professions there will exist then. And yeah, so I think this is all from our side today. If you're not already a subscriber, I would recommend that you join our family and subscribe to our newsletter. Tumelo is putting the link in the chat. And what we do is we send out emails twice a week to update you on what events we're having, and also on the trends that we pick up. And yeah, thank you for joining. I'm just looking at the chats now to see if Tumelo, yes, Cloud has put the link to our newsletter there. And before we end off, I want to ask you if you have any other questions for us. Okay, I don't see any other questions. I just want to say thank you for joining us today. Oh, I see a new message. Let's see. Oh, that's Elodie says nothing. Well, I just want to say thank you very much.
Hi.
Hi.
Apologies, Faiza.
No problem.
It's Sibatle here. It's Sibatle from IT Web.
Hello.
I'm using a new laptop, so I'm not able to actually find the hand signal here. I'm not sure what's happening, but I'd like just to pose a quick question from
Yes.
the AI perspective. Do you have information on, anything that you've shared regarding robots and artificial intelligence and how that compares to South Africa? Would you say the same for South Africa, for instance, as far as the artificial intimacy is concerned? Are South Africans headed in the same trend as our global counterparts?
I think that firstly, there's not a lot of research locally on that, but what I do know is that a lot of these apps, the ones where you can get mental health support or create your own friends, artificial friends, they're global, so they are already accessible to South Africans. And also a lot of our research, we do have research on loneliness in South Africa, and a lot of people are struggling with that. So I don't see why not South Africans also take up these kind of artificial intimacy partners. Tumelo, do you have anything to add to this question?
I think you're right. And I think because we're not looking at it as South Africa, because you know how it is, like we research our biggest problems, which is like poverty, joblessness. We're not looking at the impact of artificial intelligence. But what I can say is there are pockets. So there's like a guy I know in Alex who's been teaching people how to code. He's already using generative AI to assist those people to start their own businesses. So even though it's not on the mainstream, it's in pockets, even though it's not like thoroughly researched, people are using AI technology. And we must understand that we say AI technology like it's something new. I mean, this is just an evolution of a technology that's already existed, right? So it was first like in chatbots on websites and stuff, but now it's just evolving on how you can use it. So What I can say that in townships, in areas that are not necessarily on the mainstream or let's say the radar, there are people who are already harnessing, who've been long, I think for a year, this guy I think for 2 years has been harnessing the potential of generative AI to assist people in townships to start their own businesses, run their own businesses without having to have the costs of hiring people with those skill sets, like coding, development, etc. I just need to remember his name. But I mean, obviously in those little pockets, this is happening. Whether someone's actually looking at it closely with a keen eye of interest for research purposes, I don't think so. I hope that helps you, Spahle.
Thank you. It's really been insightful. Thanks.
Thank you everyone for joining us today. We hope to see you at our other events and have you engage with our content. Thank you very much from our side. I hope you have a wonderful day forward. Bye everyone.